Well, greetings and hello there. It's old Padre Francesco here, and today I just want to talk to you a little bit about Final Cut Pro 10. Now, in the background, you see a very simple project I did just to see if I could pull a green screen using the new program. I got it Tuesday, and I have to say, first off, I am not a professional video editor. Okay, I am an enthusiast. However, that being said, I have used Final Cut Studio, starting with Final Cut, I think 5, originally upgrading to 6 and 7 for the last 5 years. And although I am not a professional, I'm pretty familiar with the interface of Final Cut Pro. And I've used it to create my own little videos on this channel that you're seeing now. And I have to say that for about 3 years, or at least 3 years, maybe longer, I've used Final Cut probably on a daily basis. Again, I don't claim to be a professional. I'm not an Apple certified Final Cut instructor, okay? But I have used the program and I'm very familiar with it. And I like Final Cut Pro. It's a wonderful program. But I wanted to say a few things. There are a lot of people out there that are very upset at the new, if you will, how do you say it, iMovie Pro, or Final Cut iMovie, or iCut, and as you can see, the interface is very similar to iMovie. However, I want to say something I was going to say in my original video, and I was a little reluctant to say it, but I don't think it's a bad thing to say. Many of you probably are familiar with the UK video editing software called FX Home. And to be honest, it seems like the interface is very similar to FX Home in some regards, especially the drag and drop stylized presets that you can drag and drop on your clip, okay, the magnetic clip. Now, that being said, there are a lot of people who are very upset with Final Cut Pro 10. And I think that maybe, and again, I'm a critical person too. I was very critical of Snow Leopard when it came out. When I upgraded from Tiger to Leopard, it was a great upgrade for me. I had no problems or noticeable problems that I can think of. At all. But when I went to Snow Leopard, I had some problems. I couldn't access YouTube. YouTube wouldn't work for me. And for me, I'm a YouTuber. So if I can't upload to YouTube, well, guess what? So I was critical of Snow Leopard. So when I finally downloaded Final Cut Pro 10, it took about maybe, I'm guessing between an hour and a half. I have a slow bandwidth on my internet. But it seemed to work fine. Now, some of the problems that have been reported are there's no multi-edit right now, and you cannot import FCP files from Final Cut Pro 7, and that's true. Now, I will say this: one of the things that I learned when I was a PC person for all my computing life, and then about 5 years ago I switched over to the OS X system, Mac system, and I've been a loyal Mac person for the last 5 years. But one of the things that some people at the Mac store would tell me, if I was kind of getting my eyes glazed over with this new technolust, I want the newest and latest thing, they'd say, well, now just be careful. If you're working on any projects, make sure that you save them, and don't try to use the new program to try to open them. It may not work. I remember them telling me that very specifically. And so if you wanted to start a brand new project in Final Cut Pro 10, you won't have any problems, guaranteed. But a lot of people were very disappointed. Now, I do know that Apple was going to be, quote unquote, fixing that. But again, a lot of people are very upset, and they claim to be professional editors, and I believe them. And if I had to make my money, with a program and thinking it was going to be up and running and able to just, you know, pick up where I left off on Final Cut Pro 7, and now I can just start using Final Cut Pro 10, and things are going to be wonderful. Yeah, I'd be disappointed. I'm not gonna lie about or shine you on there, but I do want to say that there's some things that I think people are not taking into account, and one of those is that, again, this is based upon 64-bit architecture. And it's not 32-bit, you know, it's not maybe going to be as backwards compatible as maybe a lot of us would like it to be. I do know that there's going to be an update, and probably soon, where we'll be able to import those older Final Cut Pro programs and projects, which will be great, be wonderful. But here's the other thing, and I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten about this, is that Lion, the new operating system, is going to come out literally next week or next month. At this point, it's the 23rd. So I could probably say next week and, you know, be within a day of being right. So, you know, I think Apple, and again, I'm not here to defend Apple because they can defend themselves. I'm not an Apple spokesman. But I am saying that maybe a little bit of patience and kind of being a little reasonable about the whole Final Cut 10, some people call it a debacle, you know, to have a little bit of restraint and a little bit of patience. Because I think they are clearly trying to build, and they are seeming to have laid down a pretty good chassis, if you will, a new program that will go into the future. This is going to be, we're kind of looking at the future here, folks. I also noticed that the FX Studio, plugins, FX Factory, they're clearly on board with Final Cut Pro 10. They're like seem to be one of the few companies right now that have said, hey, excuse me, problems with Final Cut Pro 10? I don't think so. Our plugins are right there. Go to FX and you'll find them. Wow, that's fantastic. Okay, so if you have FX Factory plugins, those will be there. So that's good. Those are third-party plugins. Great plugins, by the way. So even though individuals have been lamenting the fact that it's not that stable, or it's got problems, or it doesn't have all of the refinements, and it seems to be lacking a lot of the finer controls that we're used to in Final Cut Pro 7, actually what I'm seeing, and I did this little key here that you see up here. Now, granted, it's not. Now, for you real pros out there, you're probably gagging right now thinking, man, who is this guy? But again, I took 15 minutes just playing with the controls. I didn't do anything special. You can see that the green screen I originally started off with was garbage, okay? There was no lighting on the screen. It was all wrinkled. And yet, with just playing with it, I mean, I wasn't trying to refine anything. I just wanted to see if I could pull a key, because that's one of the things that I like to do when I make my videos. I like to, you know, have a nice, interesting background. And so for me, just playing with this, just to see if I was going to be able to do it, it worked. Okay? So again, I think what we need to understand is that we have the basic chassis, if you will, and when Lion comes online, and when people begin to upgrade to Lion, then I think the other refinements are going to follow, and they'll follow very quickly. And then it'll make sense. It's going to fit, and it'll work. I mean, it already works, but I'm saying I think that it'll really become more of a polished, well-oiled machine. Another thing I want to say, and no one has said anything about this, when I did my little video here, and I remember one of the selling points about Final Cut Pro 10 was, or is, no rendering. And I thought at first, I go, they don't mean what they're saying. They just can't be. I mean, every time you lay down a track and you do a special effect, a title, or you do a color correction, or whatever, it's got to be rendered out. Well, to my amazement, and again, I completely forgot about this. Once I got my project done, I said, well, I guess I'm ready to export it, or I'm ready to, you know, save it. Well, you don't really save it. It's kind of like, it is like iMovie in that regard. Whatever you're working on, it automatically saves. So you just export it, you know, or share it, whatever. And I'll tell you what, it was kind of amazing, because I realized, wait a minute, I'm missing a step here. You know, I'm supposed to sit here for another 50 minutes or, you know, half an hour, let it render first, and then export it. Well, there was no render time at all. Now it's doing it all in the back, and on my Mac Pro, which is what I was really hoping someday the Mac Pro would really be it would be utilized for all of its horsepower. And here it is. Here's the software that's doing it. So all I want to say, perhaps in defense, wanted to say give it a chance. For $2.99. I remember when I bought Final Cut Pro, the suite, it was $14.99. I think that was right, $14.99 or $13.99. It was over $1,400. Okay, and for a guy like myself, that's an awful lot of change to drop down on a software package, especially if you had no clue as to what it was going to do for you, and even if it would work. And I believe that the Final Cut Pro 10 suite of new programs are going to be awesome, but you've got to give it just a little bit of time. Plus, let's be honest. Most of us, if you're like me, and I am, we don't like change. You got to go hunt for all the things that you used to know by second nature. You click, you have your keyboard shortcuts. Granted, you're going to have to relearn the interface. Even one guy says, yeah, it'll probably take me about a couple weeks to kind of really, get through it and, quickly pick it up. And that's true. So I think we have to just be patient, take a deep breath, get a cup of coffee, or whatever libation you choose, and just wait. And I think we're going to find out in the weeks and months and years to come, this truly is the new wave of the future in video editing. I think Apple really needed to make a radical change to bring it into the 64-bit world. They've done that, and now the refinements are going to follow, and the refinements are going to make it awesome. I do know that because again, with some of the other programs I've seen, they came out and they were kind of lackluster, and then all of a sudden, wow, now they're awesome programs, So again, that's all I wanted to say about Final Cut Pro 10, and hopefully, I made sense, and thanks for watching. And you have yourself a great evening, unless you've made other plans.